Are you familiar with that crushing disappointment? That feeling when you've poured your heart and soul into your garden, yet the harvest turned out to be, shall we say, underwhelming once again. Tiny carrots, tomatoes destroyed by blight, and cucumbers that taste bitter. Meanwhile, your neighbour's garden is overflowing and producing as if they possess some kind of magic soil. Do you think they just got lucky? Think again. The secret to a massive harvest isn't luck, and it's certainly not expensive fertilizers. It lies in what you do when everyone else is taking a break. Specifically, in December. Yes, you heard that right. This quiet, wintry month is precisely when you lay the foundation for future success. Today, I'm going to reveal my 5-step system, the critical actions I take every December. These aren't just simple tips. This is a proven strategy that will transform your plot into an oasis of abundance. Ready to find out what has been hidden from you for years? Then watch closely, right until the very end. Why December, specifically? Most gardeners see winter as the dead season. The ground is covered in snow, the physical work is done, and you can comfortably sit inside, flipping through seed catalogues. But that is the biggest misconception. December isn't the end of the season. It's the strategic beginning. It's a time of quiet and calm when you aren't distracted by urgent tasks like weeding or watering. You have an invaluable resource, time. Time for analysis, planning and preparation. Imagine yourself as a general who, instead of taking a vacation after a battle, sits down with the maps, studying the victories and defeats to ensure the next campaign is triumphant. Your garden is your battlefield for the harvest, and December is your headquarters. It is right now, with a fresh mind, that you can recall every nuance of the past summer, where the sun scorched the leaves, which bed had standing water, which varieties performed best, and which ones disappointed. It is right now that you can prepare your arsenal, your tools, and your army, your seeds, without rushing. Skipping this stage means you condemn yourself to scrambling in the spring, repeating old mistakes and missing new opportunities. So, let's stop treating December as a month of idleness and turn it into our biggest asset. So our first, and arguably most crucial step, is a deep, ruthless analysis and meticulous planning. Let's put aside the dreams of next season's bumper crops for a moment. We need to look back at the past. Grab a notebook and pen, or open a document on your computer. Your job now is to become the meticulous investigator of your own backyard. Start by mapping out your plot if you haven't already done so. You don't need to be an artist. A simple, schematic drawing showing the layout of all your beds, greenhouses, cold frames, fruit trees and bushes will suffice. Now for the interesting part. Next to every item, every bed, start recording everything you can recall about the past season. What grew there? How was the harvest? Excellent, average or poor? Dig into the details. Take, for example, the tomatoes in your greenhouse. Which varieties did you plant? Write down their names, which tasted best, which started producing fruit earliest, which were most disease-resistant. Maybe one variety didn't set any fruit at all. Don't hesitate to record the failures. Those are often your most valuable lessons. Recall the specific pests you battled in that particular bed. Was it aphids on the peppers or Colorado potato beetles on the spuds? Document the control methods you used and how effective they were. Think about diseases, late blight, powdery mildew, leaf mold. Note where and on which crops they appeared. This information is absolutely critical for planning crop rotation, which we'll discuss shortly. Assess the lighting. Were there spots where plants clearly lacked sun and stretched out, becoming leggy? Or, conversely, areas where tender leaves scorched under the midday rays? Mark this on your map. The same goes for irrigation. Where did the soil dry out too quickly? And where did puddles stand long after a rainstorm? Recall all the fertilizers and amendments you applied. Document what you fed the plants, when and how much, for every single bed. Did you see a measurable effect? Perhaps you noticed that the onions grew bigger after an application of wood ash, or that the cucumbers produced more heavily after a dose of compost tea. This entire process might seem tedious, but trust me, it is a goldmine of information. You are creating a unique database for your plot. This personal garden journal ensures you won't make the same mistakes year after year. Imagine this spring, instead of frantically trying to recall what was planted where, you simply open your December report. You'll have a clear, actionable plan based on hard data, not guesswork. This is the essential first step toward a professional approach and consequently a truly abundant harvest. Now that we've finished reviewing our past gardening season, what we call our memory audit, it's time to move on to the physical evidence. The second crucial part of our initial planning phase is soil analysis. Too many gardeners neglect this step, working purely by guesswork. They toss in some ash, pour on the manure, and then wonder why nothing seems to thrive. But the soil is a living organism. It is the foundation of everything we do. December, when your beds are empty, is the perfect time to take samples and truly understand the life and breath of your dirt. Why not wait until spring? Because in spring, you'll have a million other tasks demanding your attention, and soil analysis will inevitably fall to the bottom of the list. Plus, if you get the results back during winter, you'll have plenty of time to purchase the necessary amendments and plan your spring soil improvement strategy. So, how do you actually do this? You have two main routes. The first, which is the simplest and quite informative for a basic start, is using home test kits. You can find these at any garden centre. They usually consist of test strips or vials with reagents, and they allow you to determine the single most crucial parameter, soil acidity, or the pH level. This is absolutely vital because most common garden vegetables prefer neutral or slightly acidic soil. If your ground is too acidic, plants simply won't be able to absorb nutrients no matter how much fertilizer you apply. The process is straightforward. Take soil samples from several beds, aiming for a depth of about 6 to 8 inches. Mix these samples together, dilute them with distilled water, and dip the indicator strip. After a few minutes, compare the resulting colour to the chart on the package. Make sure you record the result for every distinct zone in your garden. The second route, which is far more accurate and professional, is sending your samples to an agricultural testing lab. Yes, this costs money, but the results will pay dividends many times over. A laboratory analysis will reveal not just the precise pH level, but also the concentration of essential macro and micronutrients: nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, magnesium, calcium, sulfur, iron, and so on. You'll receive a detailed report written in black and white showing exactly what your soil is deficient in, and perhaps more importantly, what it has in excess. For instance, you might spend years applying potassium fertilizer, only to find you already have an overabundance, which is actively inhibiting the uptake of magnesium. Only a proper lab analysis can uncover these hidden issues. How do you take a proper sample for the lab? From one bed or defined zone, you need to collect multiple sub-samples from different spots. Think of it as covering the area in a zigzag or diagonal pattern. Scrape away the top layer of sod or debris and dig down, collecting soil from a depth of 2 to 8 inches. Mix all these sub-samples thoroughly in a clean bucket, removing any roots or large stones. This gives you what is called a composite sample. Scoop about 1 pound of this mixture, seal it in a clean bag, label exactly where the sample was taken, and send it off to the laboratory. Once you have these results, you stop gardening blindly. You will know exactly whether you need to add lime for de-acidification or incorporate superphosphate to correct a phosphorus deficiency. This informed scientific approach is what separates the casual hobbyist from the serious gardener. After reviewing last season's layout and the soil analysis results, we move on to the third strategically vital component, planning your crop rotation. If you keep planting the same crops in the same spots year after year, you are guaranteed to run into 3 huge problems. First is soil depletion. Every plant has a specific appetite for nutrients. Cabbage, for instance, is a heavy feeder that loves nitrogen and potassium. If you plant it repeatedly in the same spot, it will strip the soil of those specific elements and your yields will get worse every single year. The second problem is the build-up of specific diseases. Pathogens that cause blight, for example, absolutely love the nightshade family: tomatoes, potatoes, and peppers. By overwintering in the soil, they will happily jump onto their favourite host the following season, guaranteeing an epidemic. The third issue is pest proliferation. Many insect pests also specialise in specific crops and overwinter right next to their food source. Planting potatoes after potatoes creates the ideal vacation spot for the Colorado potato beetle. Crop rotation solves all three of these problems. The core principle is simple. You cannot return a plant from the same family to the same location for at least 3 to 4 years. This is the necessary time for the soil to naturally clear itself of specific pathogens and pests and to restore its nutrient balance. How do you create a crop rotation plan? Start by dividing all your crops into botanical families. For example, nightshades or Solanaceae, tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, potatoes, cruciferous or brassicas, all types of cabbage, radish, turnip, daikon, cucurbits, cucumbers, zucchini, pumpkins, squash, legumes, peas, beans, Apiaceae or umbellifers, carrots, parsley, dill, celery, alliums, onions, garlic, leeks, and Amaranthacea, beets, spinach, chard. Next, take your garden layout and divide it into 4 defined sections. Let's say this year, Section 1 grew nightshades. Next year, you move them to Section 2. In their place, in Section 1, you plant legumes which enrich the soil with nitrogen, exactly what those heavy-feeding tomatoes needed. Perhaps Section 3 had carrots and next year it will be home to cabbage. You continue this rotation, moving plants around the circle. After 4 years, the tomatoes return to their original spot and the soil is fully rested and restored. Always consider predecessors, who comes before whom. You have good ones and bad ones. For instance, the best preceding crops for most vegetables are legumes, cucumbers, onions, and early cabbage. However, you should never plant tomatoes after potatoes, as they share common diseases. Study compatibility and crop succession charts. You can find many online and in gardening guides. Create this master plan for 3 to 4 years in advance. Yes, it takes time, but this is a one-time effort that will save you immense effort, money on pest and disease control, and most importantly, guarantee a healthy, abundant harvest. Your December crop rotation plan is your definitive roadmap to success for the seasons to come. The final piece of our major first step involves the detailed design of garden beds and comprehensive planting schedules. Simply scattering crops across the plot according to rotation schedules is only half the battle. Now, we need to focus on comfortable plant neighbours and maximising space efficiency. Let's start with the concept of mixed planting, or companion planting. When planted together, some plants help each other out. They deter pests, attract beneficial pollinators, enhance their neighbour's flavour, or even provide necessary shade during heat waves. Others, conversely, inhibit growth, competing fiercely for resources or releasing harmful substances into the soil. A classic example of a winning pairing is carrots and onions. The onion's strong scent wards off the carrot rust fly, while the carrot in turn repels the onion fly. It's a perfect symbiotic relationship. Another wonderful example is tomatoes and basil. Basil not only enhances the flavour of the tomatoes, but also deters specific pests. And marigolds, planted around the perimeter of your beds, act as a real biological barrier against nematodes and many other soil-borne pests. Your task this month is to study these relationships and plan your beds so that they host friendly communities, not just monocultures. Sketch out exactly what will grow where on your plan. For instance, in a row with tomatoes, you might interplant basil and low-growing marigolds between rows of cabbage, sow dill, which will attract beneficial predatory insects that eliminate aphids. Next to the cucumbers, plant beans, which are nitrogen fixers and will provide additional nutrients for the cukes. But be careful, you also have antagonists. For example, fennel and beans stunt each other's growth, and potatoes and cucumbers are notoriously bad neighbours. As you compile your plan, always factor in plant height and light requirements. Tall crops like sunflowers or corn should be planted on the north side of the bed so they don't shade out their shorter neighbours. Make use of vertical space for cucumbers, beans, peas, some varieties of squash, and even melons. Be sure to incorporate trellises, netting, or arches. This not only saves precious bed space, but also improves air circulation, which is vital for preventing fungal diseases. Think about the width of the pathways between your beds. They need to be wide enough for comfortable access, allowing you to easily pass through with a wheelbarrow or watering can. And finally, calculate the exact quantity of plants you will need. Based on the size of your beds and recommended planting schemes, estimate how many tomato, pepper, and cabbage plants you need to grow or purchase. This will guide you in the next phase, seed purchasing. You won't buy unnecessary items and you won't overlook crucial ones. This detailed planting plan is your blueprint for the upcoming season. With it in hand next spring, you'll operate like an experienced foreman on a construction site, precise, confident, and error-free. We are starting the second major phase of our preparation, and it focuses on perhaps the most magical thing in gardening: seeds. They are tiny capsules of life, holding the blueprint for your future harvest. How we handle them now will determine so much later on. The first part of this stage is a total inventory and overhaul of your seed stash. Every gardener, even a beginner, eventually accumulates that special box, or maybe even a whole drawer, full of colourful seed packets. December is the perfect time to get this treasure trove organised. Take absolutely everything out. Sort the packets by crop: tomatoes with tomatoes, cucumbers with cucumbers, and flowers with flowers. Now carefully examine every single packet. The most crucial detail is the expiration date, which is always printed on the packaging. If the date expired a year or two ago, it's not a death sentence yet, but it is definitely cause for concern. If the seeds are 5 to 7 years old, their germination rate will likely be extremely low or zero. Immediately set aside any packets that are hopelessly past their prime. Don't feel bad. They will only take up space and lead to disappointment come springtime. The next step is to test the viability of any seeds that are close to expiring or that you have doubts about. This is a very simple yet critical test that will save you both time and precious space in your starting trays. Grab a small plate or saucer. Place a damp paper towel, a cotton pad, or several layers of toilet paper on it. On this moist base, lay out exactly 10 seeds from the packet you are testing. Cover them with another damp paper towel. Place your saucer inside a plastic bag to create a mini greenhouse effect. Then put it somewhere warm, perhaps on top of a kitchen cupboard or near a radiator. Remember to check periodically and ensure the paper remains moist. After a few days, depending on the variety, the seeds will start to sprout. After 1 or 2 weeks, count how many of the 10 seeds have germinated. If 8 or 9 sprouted, the viability is excellent and you can plant them confidently. If it's 5 to 7, the viability is average, meaning you'll need to sow extra seeds, planting them thicker than usual. However, if fewer than 5 seeds sprouted, it is better to discard them. You'll only waste precious space and time for little to no result. Be sure to write down the results of your test. Once the culling is complete, sort your remaining good seeds. Separate the ones you definitely plan to plant this upcoming season from those you'll keep in reserve. Check your quantities. Do you have enough of your favourite tomato variety, or will you need to buy more? This inventory gives you a clear picture of what you have and what you need. You can create an accurate shopping list and avoid buying extras impulsively when you visit the garden centre. This sensible, economical approach is a key part of your strategy for a successful harvest. So you know what you have and what you're missing. It's time for every gardener's favourite winter pastime, choosing and buying new seeds. But even here, you need to use sound judgment, not just emotional impulse. The second part of our seed starting journey is the art of making the right choice. December and January are when the new seed catalogues arrive and fresh stock hits the shelves. You have plenty of time to leisurely study the inventory. What should you pay attention to first? Number 1. Regional suitability or zoning. Don't chase after exotic new varieties hyped up by bloggers in different climate zones. A tomato that yields wonderfully in a warm, southern state might not have time to ripen where summers are short. Always look for information regarding which regions the variety is recommended for. This will save you a lot of disappointment. Number 2. Days to maturity. All crops are categorized as early season, mid-season, or late season. If your summer is short, lean toward early and mid-season varieties. Late-season crops might simply not have enough time to mature before the first frost hits. On the other hand, if you have varieties with different maturity times in your arsenal, you can extend your harvest season, picking produce from July right up until October. Number 3. Resistance to diseases and adverse conditions. Manufacturers usually indicate on the packaging whether a hybrid is resistant to common issues like late blight, leaf mold, tobacco mosaic virus, and so forth. If you struggled with a specific disease last year, this season, choose varieties that have built-in immunity. Also pay attention to characteristics like drought tolerance, cold hardiness, and shade tolerance, depending on the specific features of your garden. Number 4. Understand the difference between a pure variety and a hybrid. A pure variety, often called an open-pollinated or heirloom variety, is the result of traditional or scientific breeding. It is stable and reliably passes its traits to the next generation. That means you can save the seeds from it, and the following year you will grow an identical plant. Hybrids designated with the F1 marking are the result of crossing two distinct varieties in the first generation. They are typically higher yielding, more disease resistant, and produce very uniform fruits. However, saving the seeds from them is useless. In the second generation, the traits will revert back to the parent lines, and you will get an unpredictable outcome. The choice is up to you. If you value tradition, want to save your own seeds, and appreciate a wide variety of flavours and shapes, choose pure varieties. If you prioritise a guaranteed high yield and strong disease resistance, then F1 hybrids are your best bet. Always read the description on the packet carefully. It contains all the key information: plant height, spacing, and specific soil and care requirements. Don't just buy based on a beautiful picture. Your December task is to become an expert analyst, choosing seeds not on a whim, but based on clear criteria and the precise planting plan you developed in the previous step. You've finalised your essential seed list. Now the big question is, where do you actually buy them? This is just as critical as choosing the right varieties. The third part of our second step is all about navigating the world of seed sellers. We have a few rules to help ensure you get quality material and avoid falling for scams. Rule number 1, stick to trusted growers and established vendors. Every experienced gardener has a go-to list of reliable seed companies, ones that rarely disappoint. Check out forum reviews and ask fellow gardeners for recommendations. Large, long-standing companies value their reputation and maintain strict quality control over their stock. If you buy seeds from an unknown brand in bright packaging at a roadside stand or market stall, you risk getting mislabeled plants, poor seed viability, or even just weed seeds. Rule number 2. Be wary of unbelievable offers. If you see online ads for blue watermelons, climbing strawberries that fruit year-round, or square tomatoes, 99 times out of 100, it's a fraud. The photos are almost certainly photoshopped, and you'll receive common seeds at best, instead of a horticultural miracle. These kinds of offers are especially common on large international online marketplaces. Resist the temptation to grow a novelty. Trust science and common sense instead. Rule number 3. Compare different sales channels. You can buy seeds at garden centres, specialised stores, directly from breeders' websites, or from collectors. Every method has its own pros and cons. At a garden centre, you can physically inspect the packets, but the selection might be limited. Online stores generally offer a much broader selection. often including rare varieties. However, if ordering online, it's crucial to choose reliable platforms, read store reviews, and check shipping costs carefully. Buying from private collectors is a fantastic way to acquire unique heirloom and family varieties not available commercially. But be aware of the risk of mislabeling due to potential cross-pollination in small garden settings. Always look for collectors with strong reputations and many positive testimonials. Rule number 4. Don't wait until spring to buy. December and January are when stock is most complete. By spring, the most popular and successful varieties and hybrids are often already sold out. Ordering in the winter means you receive your shipment without rush or panic, and you'll be fully prepared for the start of the planting season. Plus, many companies offer special discounts and promotions for early bird orders during the winter months. This is a chance not only to guarantee you get the seeds you need, but also to save a little money. Your task now is simple. Research the market, select 2 or 3 reliable sources, and place your order according to your list. Securing quality starting material is half the battle won. Congratulations, you've passed the most exciting stage. Those brand new, eagerly awaited seed packets are finally in your hands. But your work isn't quite done yet. To ensure they maintain their viability until spring, proper storage is crucial. This brings us to the 4th and final segment of Step 2, organising your seed bank. You can't just toss all the packets into a desk drawer and forget about them until March. Seeds have 3 main enemies: heat, light, and moisture. Our job is to protect them from these destructive factors. The ideal conditions for storing most seeds are cool, dark, and dry. The temperature should be stable, no sharp fluctuations, ideally between 5 and 15 degrees Celsius, about 41 to 59 Fahrenheit. Humidity should not exceed 60%. Where can you find a spot like this in an apartment? Absolutely avoid the kitchen, with its fluctuating temperatures and humidity, as well as the windowsill, which is subject to drafts and direct sunlight. Spaces near heating radiators are also a poor choice. A good option is a low shelf in a closet, in the coolest room, a pantry, or high storage space. Some gardeners store seeds in the refrigerator door. This is an acceptable method, but only if you ensure complete airtightness. The high humidity inside a fridge can quickly destroy your seeds. If you choose this route, you must package the packets in multiple layers. For instance, place them in a glass jar with a tightly sealed lid. For extra security, toss in a packet of silica gel, the kind often found in shoeboxes, to absorb any moisture. Now let's talk organisation. To quickly and easily find the seeds you need come spring, you must systematize them. There are several effective methods. You could arrange them alphabetically, or you could sort them by crop type, just as we did during inventory. However, the most practical method is to sort the seeds by sowing date. Create several envelopes or dividers within your storage box. In the first, place the seeds for crops that need to be started earliest in February, such as peppers, eggplant, celery, and certain flowers. In the second, put those sown in March, tomatoes and leeks. The third is for April sowings, cabbage, and asters. Use a separate envelope for seeds, sown directly outdoors in May, cucumbers, zucchini, carrots, beets, and herbs, and keep one more for any late fall or winter sowing. This system is incredibly convenient. When it's time to start sowing, you won't have to sift through your entire collection. You'll just pull out the necessary envelope. For storage, you can use photo albums with clear pockets, specialised organisers, plastic bins, or simple cardboard boxes. The main thing is that the system makes sense to you and keeps the seeds protected. By creating this organised seed bank in December, you not only ensure the integrity of your planting material, but also significantly simplify your life during the busy spring season. We are now moving on to the third major step in winter prep. Many gardeners find this step tedious, but it is absolutely essential for effective and, more importantly, healthy gardening. We're going to focus on our arsenal, garden tools and equipment. December, when the ground is sleeping under the snow, is the perfect time to get our trusted helpers in order. The first phase of this process is a thorough cleaning and disinfection. Think back to how you ended the season. Chances are you rushed, tossing your shovels and rakes into the shed without bothering to clean off the stuck-on dirt. But those clumps of soil, or the blades of your pruners and saws, can harbour fungal spores, bacteria, and pest eggs. If you start working with dirty tools in the spring, you'll simply spread disease throughout your entire garden with your own hands. So, the first goal is to scrub everything until it gleams. Start with the basics: shovels, pitchforks, rakes and hose. Grab a stiff wire brush or a scraper and meticulously remove all the caked-on residue and rust. Pay special attention to where the metal meets the handle. That's where dirt loves to collect. After the mechanical scraping, wash the working parts of the tools in hot water using soap or any common detergent. Then they must be completely dried right away to prevent flash rust. The next stage is disinfection. This step is non-negotiable, especially for cutting tools, your hand pruners, loppers, garden shears, and saws, since many dangerous plant diseases are transmitted directly through cuts and wounds. What should you use? The simplest and most accessible method is to wipe the blades down with rubbing alcohol or any alcohol-based sanitizer. Pharmacy products like chlorhexidine also work well. Alternatively, you can use specialised horticultural antiseptics, often based on copper or other active ingredients. Some gardeners prefer a dark pink solution of potassium permanganate. Either dip the tool into the solution for a few minutes or thoroughly wipe the blades with a soaked cloth. Crucially, after disinfecting, ensure the tools are completely dry once again. Now inspect the wooden handles. If they are dried out, cracked, or covered in splinters, they need immediate attention. Sand the surface down using sandpaper until it is smooth. Then, treat the handles with boiled linseed oil or specialised wood oil. This protects them from moisture and rot, ensuring they last much longer. If your painted handles are chipped, consider touching up the paint as well. Once all these steps are complete, coat the metal parts with a thin layer of machine oil or any suitable grease. This creates a protective film that prevents corrosion during winter storage. Your tools will look brand new and will be fully ready for action next season. Although this may seem like tedious work, it is actually a vital sign of respect for your own labour and an essential act of caring for the long-term health of your garden. A clean tool is good, but a sharp tool is even better. A dull pruner doesn't cut. It crushes and tears the plant tissue, leaving ragged wounds. These kinds of wounds heal slowly and are open invitations for infection. And think about your back. A dull shovel requires twice the effort to turn the soil. This brings us to the second part of our essential technical prep, sharpening everything that cuts and digs. Let's start with hand pruners and loppers. Most of these are bypass type, meaning they have one cutting blade and one curved anvil or hooked blade. You must only sharpen the cutting blade, and only on the outer, beveled side, maintaining the original factory angle. Do not attempt to sharpen the inner, flat side. You will only damage the tool. You can use specialised pruner sharpeners, honing steels, fine grit sharpening stones, or even diamond files. If this is your first time, watch a few video tutorials to grasp the proper technique. Your strokes should be smooth and consistent, moving in one direction from the base of the blade toward the tip. Don't press too hard. Your goal is simply to remove a thin layer of metal and restore the sharpness of the cutting edge. After several passes, carefully run your finger along the blade to feel the edge and check for the burr. A properly sharpened pruner should easily slice through a sheet of paper. After sharpening, always lubricate the moving parts, the spring, and the locking mechanism with machine oil. Now let's move on to saws and hand saws. Sharpening these is a much more complex process, requiring specific skills and specialised tools, such as a triangular file for setting and sharpening the teeth. If you're not confident, it's often best to take your saw to a professional sharpening service. But if you decide to DIY, study the theory, how to properly set the teeth, and which filing angle to maintain. And don't forget your shovels, hoes, and cultivators. Yes, they need sharpening too. A sharp shovel slides into the ground much easier, especially dense clay soil. For shovels and hoes, you can use a regular file or a bench grinder, or even an angle grinder with a flat disc. Sharpen the cutting edge, beveling only the front face. You don't need a razor edge, but the blade should be noticeably sharper than it was. This small step will dramatically lighten your workload come spring. Finally, the lawn mower and trimmer blades. Dull blades don't cut grass. They tear it, causing the tips to yellow and making your entire lawn look ragged. Remove the blade. Always unplug the electric mower or disconnect the spark plug on a gas model first. Clamp it securely in a vise and sharpen it with a file or a grinder while strictly maintaining balance. This is crucial. You must remove the exact same amount of metal from both sides. Otherwise, the imbalance will cause severe vibration that can damage the engine. By spending just a few hours sharpening now, you will save dozens of hours and immense effort during the peak season. Beyond hand tools, many gardeners own more complex equipment that also needs winter maintenance. The third section of our preparation covers inspecting and winterizing tillers, cultivators, lawnmowers, and irrigation systems. Let's start with gasoline-powered tools. If you simply left yours in the shed with residual fuel in the tank, you might face some nasty surprises come spring. Over the winter, gasoline can separate and form a gummy sediment that clogs the fuel lines and carburetor. So, the first thing you need to do is properly prepare the equipment for storage. There are two common approaches. The first is to completely drain all the fuel from the tank and carburetor. To do this, start the engine and let it run until it stalls out completely. This ensures the fuel channels remain dry and clean. The second approach is the opposite. Fill the tank completely with fresh gas and add a specialized fuel stabilizer. The stabilizer prevents oxidation and separation, preserving the fuel's properties for many months. This method is great because it also protects the internal surfaces of the tank from corrosion. To decide which method to use, check the instructions in your owner's manual. The next crucial step is changing the engine oil. Throughout the season, the oil accumulates wear particles and carbon buildup. Leaving this dirty mixture in the crankcase all winter is a bad idea. Acidic compounds in used oil can cause corrosion on the internal engine components. Therefore, at the end of the season, drain the old oil while the engine is still warm and replace it with fresh oil recommended by the manufacturer. You also need to clean or replace the air filter. A clogged filter chokes the engine, leading to power loss and increased fuel consumption. Clean the exterior housing of the equipment, removing all dirt and grass clippings. Check and tighten all screws and nuts if necessary. Remove the spark plug and inspect it. If it has heavy carbon buildup, clean or replace it. You can drop a few drops of engine oil into the spark plug hole and slowly turn the crankshaft a couple of times to lubricate the cylinder walls. Then, screw the spark plug back into place. Now for the irrigation systems. Hoses must be completely drained of water, otherwise freezing water will rupture them. Coil them neatly and hang them up in the shed. Check all connectors, spray nozzles and sprinklers. Clean off any dirt and mineral or lime deposits. If you have a drip irrigation system, you must also blow it out to remove all water and store it properly. Inspect any pumps you may have. Make sure they are dry and stored in a frost-free location. This preventative winter maintenance is your guarantee that your equipment will start right up next spring and serve you faithfully for years to come. Once your tools and equipment are cleaned, sharpened and fully serviced, it's time for the final, crucial step, bringing perfect order to where they live, the shed, garage or utility room. This isn't just about aesthetics. A well-organised workspace saves you time, stress, and actually prolongs the life of your equipment. Start by aggressively decluttering. Over the years, you've probably accumulated mountains of junk, empty paint cans, old leaky buckets, broken tools you always plan to fix, and random scraps of wood or plastic sheeting. December is the perfect time to get rid of all that unnecessary clutter without regret. You'll be amazed how much space you free up. Now that the space is clearer, think about your storage system. The key principle here is simple. Everything must be visible and easily accessible. The worst solution? is simply dumping everything in one corner. You'll waste a ton of time digging through that pile just to find the right hoe. Use your walls. This is the most valuable and frequently ignored space. Install hooks, brackets, and hangers directly onto the studs. Hang up shovels, rakes, and pitchforks. This keeps them off the floor and always within easy reach. For smaller hand tools like pruners, trowels, and shears, create a dedicated storage panel. Take a sheet of plywood or pegboard, secure it to the wall, and drive in nails or screws to hang your tools. You can even outline each tool with a marker, so you always know exactly where it belongs. This simple technique is incredibly disciplined. Utilize shelving units and racks. These are perfect for storing power tools, oil cans, fertilizers, and protective gear. Keep organic fertilizers separate from mineral ones. Crucially, store pesticides and chemicals in a dedicated tightly locked cabinet or container, ensuring they are completely inaccessible to children and pets. Make sure to check the expiration dates on all chemicals and ruthlessly discard anything that is past its prime. For nails, screws, bolts, and other small hardware, clear plastic containers or even basic glass jars are ideal. This way you can instantly see what is stored inside. Take inventory of your consumables. Make a list of everything you need to restock before spring. Gloves, ropes, wire, plant markers, row covers, and greenhouse film. Add these items to your main shopping list. Finally, consider lighting and comfort. If your shed is too dark, run some extra wiring for better light. Lay down a rubber mat on the floor to make standing and working more comfortable. You might even want to install a small workbench for minor repairs. Chasseurs. By establishing such an organised and functional system this December, you'll transform your dusty old junk storage into a true gardener's workshop. Come spring, you'll thank yourself when you can find any needed item in under 10 seconds flat. We've reached the fourth major step, which focuses on the absolute foundation of successful gardening, our soil. We've already analysed its composition, and now we'll discuss how to protect and enhance it during the cold winter months. The first topic in this step is winter mulching. Leaving garden beds bare over winter is one of the biggest mistakes a gardener can make. Exposed soil takes a severe beating from the elements. Rain washes it away, wind dries it out, it freezes deeply, and its crucial structure is destroyed. The result? In spring, instead of soft, fertile ground, all you get is a dense, lifeless crust. Mulch is essentially a protective blanket for your soil. It provides vital defence and works non-stop all winter long, setting the stage for next year's successful harvest. What exactly does winter mulch do? First, it prevents erosion. Raindrops and melting snow won't directly hit the exposed soil, preventing the precious, fertile topsoil from washing away. Second, it prevents deep freezing. Soil covered with mulch freezes less severely and thaws much faster in the spring. This is crucial because it preserves the life of beneficial soil, microorganisms and earthworms, allowing them to keep working even through the colder months. Third, mulch acts as a powerful weed suppressant. Many weed seeds that land on the surface won't be able to germinate and sprout once spring arrives because they are effectively blocked by the mulch layer. And fourth, it's a vital source of organic matter. Throughout the winter and early spring, the bottom layer of mulch will begin to decompose, enriching your soil with humus and essential nutrients. Come spring, all you need to do is lightly work the remaining material into the topsoil. What can you use to mulch your beds for the winter? There are tons of options, and the best part is, most of them are completely free. The single best and most accessible material is the fallen leaves from your own garden. Just make sure the leaves are healthy and aren't infected with any diseases. Rake them into piles and cover your beds with a layer 4 to 6 inches thick. Straw or hay also work wonderfully. They create a loose, airy layer that offers fantastic protection against the frost. Another great option is dried, mowed grass clippings, provided you are still cutting your lawn late into the fall. You can also use shredded bark, wood chips, or sawdust. Be cautious with fresh sawdust, however. As it decomposes, it draws nitrogen out of the soil. It's best to use sawdust after composting it, or to balance it out by applying nitrogen fertilizer in the spring. Yet another excellent material is finished compost. If you have mature compost available, spread a layer 2 to 3 inches deep across the surface of your beds. This serves as both mulch and a superb organic fertilizer. So when should you mulch? Don't jump the gun. Wait until the first light frosts have passed and the very top layer of soil has started to firm up. If you cover the ground while it's still too warm and moist, you might inadvertently create a cozy winter home for mice. By covering your beds with this organic blanket, you make an enormous investment in the long-term health and fertility of your soil. Continuing the topic of organics, let's talk about the heart of any thriving garden, the compost pile. Many people assume that the composting process stops dead in winter. That's not quite right. Yes, it slows down significantly, but it doesn't stop completely, especially in the core of the pile, where temperatures can remain above freezing. The second crucial step in our soil management plan is proper compost maintenance during the winter. If you already have a compost heap or bin, your primary task in December is to prepare it for the cold and continue feeding it. Before hard frosts hit, it's a good idea to insulate the pile. This helps retain heat and moisture and protects vital nutrients from being leached out by rain or snowmelt. What should you use? An old rug, a sheet of linoleum, black plastic sheeting, or just covering it with a thick layer of straw or fallen leaves will work perfectly. If your compost has dried out significantly by autumn, you must moisten it. Pour several buckets of water over it. The ideal moisture level for successful composting is like a wrung-out sponge. Dry compost simply won't break down. Throughout the winter, we continue to generate valuable organic waste in our kitchens. Vegetable peels, coffee grounds, tea bags, and eggshells. Don't throw away this treasure. These are excellent green components for your compost, rich in nitrogen. How do you add these during winter? Don't just toss them on top of a frozen pile. Create a hole in the centre of the covering, dump your scraps there, and try to push them down into the middle. Then, cover the hole back up. This technique stimulates the microorganisms working hard in the warm core. Other components can be added to the kitchen waste in winter too. For instance, wood ash from your stove or fireplace. Ash is an invaluable source of potassium, phosphorus, and essential micronutrients. But it's important not to overdo it with ash. It is alkaline, and large amounts can make the compost too basic. Add it sparingly, sprinkling it between layers of organic material. You can also add shredded cardboard, paper, avoiding coloured ink and glossy finishes, and old cotton fabrics to the compost during winter. These are your brown components rich in carbon, which are necessary for proper balance. If you're just planning to start a compost pile, December is a great time to build your compost bin and begin collecting materials. Gather kitchen scraps, arrange to buy manure for spring from neighbours who keep livestock, and store fallen leaves in bags. Making your own compost is the process of turning waste into black gold for your garden. It is the most eco-friendly and inexpensive way to create a premium fertiliser that will revitalise your soil, improve its structure, and feed your plants everything they need. There is one more powerful technique for boosting your soil health that you absolutely should be planning for right now during the winter. I'm talking about cover crops, also known as green manure. Cover crops are plants grown specifically not for harvest, but to improve soil structure and fertility. You either mow them down and till them into the earth, or leave them on the surface as a natural mulch. This third segment of our fourth step focuses entirely on planning your cover crop strategy. While it's likely too late to sow most of these in December, unless you're in a very mild climate, this is the critical time to decide exactly where, when, and which cover crops you will plant next season. How do they work? First, their vigorous root systems penetrate deep into the ground, loosening and structuring the soil, making it more porous and improving both aeration and drainage. These roots also act as nutrient scavengers, drawing up minerals from deep soil layers and bringing them closer to the surface. Second, by developing large amounts of green biomass, when you cut them and incorporate them into the soil, they dramatically enrich it with organic matter, nitrogen, and other essential nutrients. Think of it as compost that grows itself right there in your garden bed. Third, many cover crops offer natural pest and disease control. They suppress weed growth, deter specific pests like wireworms, and help sanitize the soil against various pathogens. Which cover crops should you choose? There are many varieties, each with unique benefits. Brassicas, such as white mustard, oilseed radish, and rapeseed or canola, grow quickly, produce substantial green mass, and are excellent at suppressing weeds and cleaning up the soil. They are perfect for sowing early in the spring before your main crop, or in the fall after harvest. Legumes, like vetch, clover, lupine, and field peas, are unique because their roots host specialized bacteria called rhizobia, which fix atmospheric nitrogen and deposit it directly into the soil. This makes them the ultimate preceding crop for high nitrogen feeders, such as cabbage or squash. Grasses, like rye, oats, and wheat, are known for their fibrous, powerful root systems that excel at breaking up and structuring even the heaviest clay soil. Winter rye, planted in the fall, is one of the best ways to revitalize tired, depleted ground. Other excellent options include Phacelia, which is a fantastic pollinator attractant, works well in any soil type, and makes a great universal preceding crop. Or buckwheat, which specifically helps enrich the soil with phosphorus and potassium. Your task this December is to take out your garden plan and mark the beds you want to improve using cover crops. For example, a bed designated for cabbage next season could be sown with a mix of oats and vetch in early spring. In about 6 weeks, they will produce good biomass. You cut them down, incorporate them, and after a couple of weeks, you can transplant your cabbage seedlings into soil that is already perfectly conditioned and fertilized. Alternatively, a bed cleared after harvesting early potatoes could be planted with mustard in July to suppress weeds and sanitize the soil by fall. Make sure to add cover crop seeds to your shopping list. It's an inexpensive, yet incredibly effective investment in the long-term health of your garden. We've laid the groundwork, both mentally and physically, and now we move to the final phase of our fourth step. This involves proactive planning and purchasing the materials your garden needs to thrive, specifically soil amendments and fertilizers. Thanks to our soil analysis, we already know exactly what our ground is lacking. Now, it's time to put together a detailed purchasing plan. Why should this be done in the winter? First, just like buying seeds, winter is off-peak. There's no rush, allowing you to calmly research the market, compare prices, and select the best suppliers. By springtime, the prices for high-demand items like peat, well-rotted manure, or compost are likely to jump. Second, if you require large volumes, say a truckload of manure or compost, suppliers often have more available time and equipment during the winter months. Organising delivery can be significantly easier. So, what might you need? If your analysis indicates acidic soil, you'll require liming agents. The most common choices are dolomitic lime, which provides both calcium and magnesium, or hydrated lime. Calculate the necessary quantity based on your pH level and soil type. Clay soils require higher doses than sandy ones. While it's best to apply these in the fall before digging, if you miss that window, early spring application is still an option. If you have heavy clay soil, it likely lacks the necessary looseness and aeration. In this case, your best allies will be coarse river sand, peat moss, or well-finished compost. These additions will lighten the soil structure and create that desirable, crumbly texture. Conversely, if your soil is too light and sandy, failing to retain moisture, you need to add water-holding components. These include compost, well-rotted manure, clay meal, or vermicompost. They act like sponges, soaking up and holding water and essential nutrients. Perhaps your garden is simply deficient in general organic matter. If so, plan on buying aged manure, either horse or cow, tree litter, which must be used very cautiously and highly diluted, or ready-made vermicompost, the product of earthworm activity. This is a concentrated and highly balanced organic fertilizer. In addition to organic matter, You might need mineral fertilizers to address specific deficiencies identified by the analysis, for instance, superphosphate to cover a lack of phosphorus, or potassium sulfate for a potassium boost. Put together a detailed list, what you need, the quantity required, and for which specific garden bed. Locate suppliers, compare prices, and if possible, arrange for early spring delivery now. This strategic professional approach is what sets a successful gardener apart, allowing you to meet the new season fully prepared with everything needed to create the perfect soil, the foundation for your future bumper crop. We have reached the fifth and final step of our winter garden prep, and this step isn't about raised beds, seeds, or tools. It's dedicated to the most important gardener of all, you. December is the perfect time to invest in your own knowledge and skills. The first crucial block of this step is reading and learning. Gardening is an evolving science. New varieties, new technologies, and fresh approaches to plant protection emerge all the time. To stay current and avoid costly mistakes, continuous learning is essential. Winter evenings are ideal for diving deep into the world of gardening literature. Where should you start? With the classics. Look for foundational books by respected authors focused on organic gardening and natural approaches. These volumes establish the right philosophy, teaching you to understand nature rather than fight against it. They explain how soil life works and how to create a balanced ecosystem right in your own backyard. Alongside these fundamental texts, make sure to study practical guides. Get a good, well-illustrated encyclopedia of edible crops. In it, you'll find detailed agricultural information for every plant, from planting schedules to pruning techniques. This book will become your trusted companion for years to come. Don't overlook gardening magazines and newsletters. They often feature up-to-date articles, advice from seasoned gardeners, moon phase planting guides, and reviews of new products. Subscribe to one or two publications that you genuinely enjoy. Over the winter, you will accumulate a wealth of useful ideas. Be sure to start a garden journal, either a physical notebook or a file on your computer, where you jot down the most interesting and important insights. Don't rely on memory alone. Write down fertilizer recipes, companion planting schemes, names of preferred varieties, and nursery contacts. This journal will become your own personal encyclopedia of gardening wisdom. Pay special attention to the pests and diseases you encountered last season. Search the internet for high-quality photos to learn how to identify problems at an early stage. Study various methods of control, both cultural practices, like crop rotation, and correct planting techniques, biological methods, such as attracting beneficial insects and using organic sprays and chemical treatments. It is crucial to know which specific product is effective against which specific problem, and how to apply it correctly so you don't harm yourself or the environment. The more you know, the more confident you will feel. Knowledge is the gardener's most powerful tool, allowing you to make smart decisions and achieve consistently great harvests. Turn this December into your personal educational semester. In the 21st century, education has moved far beyond the confines of books and traditional magazines. The internet now offers us virtually limitless opportunities to gain knowledge. Our second major educational step involves mastering online resources. Naturally, video content takes the top spot. Platforms like YouTube host hundreds, if not thousands, of channels dedicated entirely to gardening and horticulture. Your job is to seek out creators whose philosophies align with yours, whose growing methods you appreciate, and, critically, who operate in a climate zone similar to yours. Watching tropical gardening tips while living in a cold region like Siberia might be entertaining, but it won't be very practical. Look for local or regional experts. What should you look for when selecting channels? Pay attention to the quality of the presentation. Is the creator merely showing off a beautiful picture? Or do they thoroughly explain why they choose a particular method? Do they share their failures as well as their successes? A truly honest and seasoned vlogger will always discuss their mistakes. These are often the most valuable lessons we can learn. Create a dedicated playlist of useful videos, tutorials on properly pruning tomatoes, natural remedies for aphid control, or how to build a successful raised bed. Winter is the perfect time to watch these videos without rushing, allowing you to fully absorb every detail. Beyond video content, you'll find a huge number of gardening forums and dedicated groups across social media platforms. These are true treasure troves of collective wisdom. Here you can ask any question, even one you think is silly, and receive dozens of helpful replies from seasoned gardeners. If you upload a photo of a sick plant, the community will often help you diagnose the cause of the ailment. Share your specific challenges and you'll receive a wealth of practical solutions. Don't hesitate to interact, ask questions, and share your own experiences. This exchange is incredibly enriching. Online courses and webinars are another powerful learning tool. Many agronomists, landscape designers, and expert gardeners host both paid and free educational sessions. Whether it's a course on cultivating roses, a webinar on permaculture, or a masterclass on pruning fruit trees, these provide structured, concentrated information directly from a professional. While some courses require a fee, this investment will pay off many times over by helping you avoid costly beginner mistakes. Make sure to subscribe to the newsletters of several seed companies or local garden centres. They frequently send out helpful articles, timely tips, and information about seasonal sales. Use this winter wisely to become an active member of the online gardening community. It's not just useful, it's genuinely engaging. You'll quickly realise that you are far from alone in your passion and will find a wealth of fellow enthusiasts. While online learning offers countless benefits, nothing truly replaces face-to-face connection and the invaluable exchange of experience. The third segment of our fifth step is all about transitioning offline, diving into the real-world community of gardeners. Winter, particularly in major urban areas, is prime time for various themed exhibitions, fairs, and lectures. Make sure you check local listings and event calendars. Local community centres, botanical gardens, or even large nurseries frequently host talks featuring well-known agronomists, plant breeders, and landscape designers. Attending one of these lectures is a unique chance to not only get information straight from the source, a recognised expert, but also to pose those burning questions you've been struggling with. Always bring a notebook and pen to jot down the most critical insights. These events are also fantastic for meeting other passionate gardeners and exchanging contact information. Another excellent opportunity for growth is joining a local gardening or horticulture club. Such communities exist in many towns and villages. Club members meet regularly to swap tips, trade seeds and seedlings, and often arrange bulk purchases of fertilisers or soil at wholesale prices. They invite guest speakers and organise shows to exhibit their harvests. Being part of such a community means you are constantly in the loop with relevant information specifically tailored to your local region. You'll learn which varieties have proven most successful in your specific area the previous season, how to combat local pests, or even where to find the highest quality compost or aged manure. This is priceless, practical experience that no book can ever provide. If there isn't an official club in your locality, perhaps you should consider starting one. Start small. Gather a few gardening neighbours or allotment holders who share your passion for the earth. Host a simple tea or coffee evening where everyone can share their successes and failures from the past growing season. This kind of experiential exchange is incredibly beneficial. And don't forget to connect with your neighbours, especially those with backyard plots or allotments. They likely include some seasoned old-school gardeners who know everything about growing in your specific microclimate. Don't hesitate to approach them and ask for advice. These folks are often happy to share the secrets they've accumulated over decades. Show respect for their hard-earned knowledge, and you will gain the most valuable mentor possible. Face-to-face interaction is energizing, inspires new projects, and helps you avoid countless unnecessary mistakes. Use the quiet winter months to cultivate these vital social connections within the gardening world. We have arrived at the final, the 20th module, which completes our 5-step preparation system. We've analysed the past, planned the future, prepared the tools, seeds and soil, and acquired new knowledge. Now the most crucial step remains, Setting yourself up for success. This module focuses entirely on goal setting and visualization. Simply wishing for a big harvest is too abstract. To achieve real results, your goal must be specific, measurable, and realistic. Sit quietly and consider, what exactly does a big harvest mean to you next season? Maybe you want to gather 50 pounds of premium potatoes, or perhaps process 8 gallons of tomato juice from your own homegrown tomatoes. Or is your ultimate goal to grow an enormous 20-pound pumpkin that will impress all your neighbours? Write your goals down. For example, 1. Harvest at least 10 pounds of cucumbers per plant. 2. Fully supply the family with fresh greens from May through October. 3. Successfully grow 3 new crops I've never tried before, such as okra, ground cherry and chard. 4. Finally, eliminate wireworms from the potato patch. Once your goals are written down, they stop being mere dreams and transform into a concrete plan of action. Now activate visualization. This is a powerful psychological tool that helps align your brain with goal achievement. Picture your future garden in perfect detail. Imagine the tidy, mulched beds. See the cucumbers tied neatly to the trellis, heavy with firm, crisp fruit. Look at the robust tomato plants bursting with red juice. Smell the fragrance of blooming peas. Hear the buzz of the bees. Imagine plucking a ripe, sun-warmed strawberry and popping it into your mouth. Picture yourself walking into your pantry and seeing shelves absolutely overflowing with jars of your own preserves. The brighter and more detailed this mental image is, the stronger your motivation will become. An excellent way to solidify this vision is to create a garden vision board or wish map. Get a large sheet of poster board or a cork bulletin board. Find beautiful photos in old magazines or print them from the internet. Images of the exact vegetables, flowers and fruits you plan to grow. Affix them to your board. Add pictures of ideal raised beds, beautiful greenhouses and happy gardeners with abundant harvests. Hang this board somewhere visible so it reminds you of your goals and inspires you every single day. This final step might not seem as practical as sharpening a shovel or buying seeds, but in reality, it unifies all the previous steps into a single system and gives you the most vital element, an inexhaustible source of energy and the belief in your own success. After all, a great harvest starts not in the soil, but in the mind. So there you have it, 5 major foundational steps we've covered in detail. Let's quickly run through them one last time. First, a ruthless analysis of the past season and detailed planning for the future, including crop rotation and layout schemes. Second, a complete inventory of your seeds, smart selection and purchase of new material, and the creation of an organised seed bank. Third, getting your entire arsenal into perfect shape, cleaning, disinfecting, sharpening tools, and general equipment maintenance. Fourth, caring for your soil, winter mulching, tending to your compost, and purchasing soil amendments well in advance. And fifth, investing in yourself, education, reading, connecting with like-minded individuals, and of course, maintaining the right mindset. As you can see, December isn't a month for hibernation. It's a time for the most important strategic work. These seemingly invisible winter actions are exactly what separates those who complain about poor harvests every year from those who consistently reap the fruits of their labour by the bucketload. This system works. I've tested it for years. It transforms chaotic gardening attempts into a clear, consistent and intentional process. Thank you for sticking with this long, but I hope very useful video until the very end. If you learned something new, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. We have a lot more exciting content coming up. Now, I have a question for you. Tell me in the comments, which of these 5 steps do you consider the most crucial for your own operation? And what essential gardening and yard work do you make sure to tackle in December? Let's share our experiences. See you next time.